Was you going to talk about filming a bit? I mean, what it seems to be in a way is a sort of film of a concert, and essentially concentrates on that.
Yeah,
perhaps.
in essence, that was it. Yeah.
And this is what you wanted to do, was it, from the start?
Well, prior to the Americans in '73, that one came from. Joe Masso had contacted me. He's actually a friend of well, I shouldn't say that, actually. I should say he's an acquaintance. I bumped into him a few times, and I knew he was very keen on the group. And he'd actually popped round because he was, I was really getting pain on at the time on the Thames, and he was living further down the river, and on the sort of main route to London, the sort of pages in, one of those sort of things. And he said, I just don't know why you don't do a film. And I think at that time there was something. Oh yes, that's right. There was something that could have possibly been on the go, and we didn't really want to. So everyone ignores that. So anyhow, I sort of brushed it off. It reoccurred during the concert, which had been an immense success. It was really fantastic. Plus, at that time, it seemed rather, we got the newspaper sent to us from, the musical sent to us from Britain. And there was, not having a press agent, there wasn't much, reportage particularly. And the Stones were doing it at the same time. It was all massive with the Stones. And in actual fact, as far as people coming to see us, we were possibly doing,
as well as,
better, as well as whatever, it was neck and neck, we'll say. In fairness, we'll say neck and neck, and it certainly deserved something in print, and we were getting nothing. And so we were sitting around one night, and it must have been about a week before the Madison Square Garden. I think I proposed this thing about the film, and everyone sort of started to kick it away and said, yes, that's it, we'll do it, because we had nothing. We had no sort of celluloid, documentary on us whatsoever, apart from Albert Hall, 1970, which in fact, as far as the annals of history go, is all right. And a really tragic thing that happened at Bath, the Bath Festival, because that was really a magic thing for us after we'd been in retirement, but we'd been hiding away writing this, hadn't been seen for that long. The Twits hadn't got a high grade, high speed filming registers, so canisters. So they only got the crowd, and they just got us going on, and we wanted to play Into the Sunset. They just didn't get anything of us. It was a farce. So that was it. That's all we had.
But I mean, you wanted to make basically a film of you on stage, though, rather than a sort of documentary of the behind the scenes.
We hadn't even thought of
Led
anything
Zeppelin.
like that. We just wanted to get we wanted to get a good soundtrack and some good footage, so we could see ourselves, kick it around, see whether there's any possibilities in it, and the sort of the basic idea is, if it's okay, we'll go ahead with it. If not, we'll just have a current collection. Okay, it started off, and we found when we got back to England, it was sadly missing in footage, and there were lots of annoying things, like there'd be a long run on something, and then there'd be a verse or something, and the chap's magazine would run out, and 30 seconds before the end of the verse or something. Well, no, I should say that 5 seconds, and just at a crucial point, and all these sort of things. And they were a bit niggling, but there was definitely something there. Incidentally, we did it across 2 nights. But the group being as it is, and lots of stretching out within numbers, people, all this sort of thing. You couldn't possibly use footage from one night to the other because it wouldn't be a sync. And I should really say that after the accident that Robert's had, we were faced. Well, we didn't. No, I'll give you some sort of chronological history of how the thing came to be, because I bet you're going to ask me why it took 3 years, aren't you?
Well, that's obviously sort of what one wonders about.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, it's important that you get a picture of it. We realised that we had lots of gaps. Because of the gaps, there was the immediate sort of, what the hell should we do? Shall we put some graphic sequences in, or cut off footage, whatever. And the fantasy sequences came up as an idea. That giving everyone, liberty to do their own fantasy or whatever.
But it was partly sort of originally sort of force of circumstance, and that you didn't have. Fantasies were forced of circumstance, and that you didn't have necessarily the
well, in a way,
film.
yes, in a way. But you
those.
see, the important thing that I'm getting at is that it grew, and that there was a sort of a minor concept to it, but it became. I'm going to say almost a necessity at a later stage, you see. So anyhow, that was it. We had the we had the fantasy sequences already shot, more or less at the time. Oh, excluding mine, more or less at the time, and it's contemporary with the footage in Madison Square Garden. Now, because of tours and albums, this, that, and the other, it got shelved for a while. There's just not enough time to do all the things you want to do. Little things that had personally niggled us. No thanks. No. And one hadn't really lost total interest, but there was just a feeling of, we'll do it another day. Because, we always were pretty. I guess we're our own worst critics, and we're pretty sticky about getting things dead right. When things. When you find footage missing and that sort of thing, and things haven't been synced up properly, you needed a lot of identification for footage. It just seemed to be too much of an epic task, right? A little bit more work was done in another period on the interim, through 75, when the accident happened. Now at that point we had to reassess everything that we were doing.
Because the accident stopped you touring, didn't it? Didn't you have a tour plan or something?
Right. We had been working on the film, and by that time of the non-residency period, we were thinking of putting it together. But after the accident, obviously, there was far more energy put in total commitment at that point. We'd actually got the plot and the idea that almost a slow beginning of tranquility, and the total, yin yang effect of the tranquility in Britain and the race and chaos and stuff. That was it. Basically, after the accident, it was just all energies were.
How much do you think the fantasies reveal about the particular members of the group?
Well, I mean, as far as my one goes, and Dazed and Confused, I mean, the most important part. Well, there's a play on the eyes. That was a very important thing that I wanted to do, and that more than anything else within my sequences, so to speak. I mean, I have to call them sequences because, say, Bonzo's isn't really fantasy. It's very real. Isn't it? I mean, he comes across as he is, and possibly because of that, it may even be the most successful. I don't know. But I was very intent upon getting that the violent thing, the fact that I think the cops are chasing that kid around and they drag him in the room and now just do one thing. Yeah, the door shuts, but this is why the director and myself came to loggerheads, and because of the situation in non-residency where he was doing editing here and we voted us back and keep an eye on him.
Sort of communicating over.
There was this one very important part that he didn't put in, and that's the door shuts and this damn woman cop goes across there. They're trying to follow him on the camera. Like that with the truncheons. And that I thought was the most important part of that, because the imagination runs wild at what's going on in that room.
I can't imagine why he should have checked.
Well,
like offending the New York police or something.
No, it wasn't. What more dare we say? I mean, I'm putting that in because it is important, and there were a few things like that. It's a bit niggly, But that, with all the music behind this chaotic imagery.
What about the idea of you climbing up the cliff and the old man which turns into you? I mean,
that was just self-indulgent, but it's an interpretation of the hermit tarot card, really. The hermit being sort of holding the light, being the truth, that sort of thing. Allusions to holding punch. Anyway, the thing of I should really say, rather than give a total interpretation of that, I think within a lot of the stuff that we've done, there's been I won't say like a nebulous thing, but ambiguity and almost thought-provoking.
Well, you're still not quite sure what
so say a lyric will go down, and in fact one's imagination will take thought-provoking material. I mean, let's say that. And somebody laid a concept, or presented a concept to me of that Hamlet sequence, which was really, really quite fascinating. It wasn't the way that what I was trying to put across, but it was damn good. And if that's the sort of thing that's going on, that's good. I prefer that, That it's just a thought-provoking piece rather than a statement.
Because I mean, Led Zeppelin as a group has always been something of a sort of mystery, as compared with a lot of other groups. I mean, you said earlier that you didn't get a lot of you weren't getting a lot of press, as say compared with the Rolling Stones. I mean, everybody walks down the street knows about Mick Jagger and all that sort of thing. Whereas you don't. I mean, how much is that? Did you want that to happen, or how much is that just sort of natural?
Well, the unfortunate thing, you see, the thing is, the most important thing to all of us was what we were actually involved with, which was the music, period, that's it. Rather than sort of presenting an image around or a pretty face. And unfortunately, through lack of communication or statements to the press and all this sort of thing, from the usual recognised source, PR, as such, Led Zeppelin started to just mean pound, shillings and pence. And that's, they related us to gigantic gates. People hearing, coming to see us, like, Tampa, 57,000, all this sort of thing. But rather than making a big play on the fact that that's an amazing amount of people to come to see one, because I don't know how many bands or whatever musical groups that you actually think, go and see them, you make a date in your diary and actually bother to make the booking and get ready and go and everything. There aren't that many that one really would go, would actually run to the box office to get your ticket for. And I really appreciate that people have taken that you're taking their time.
Do you not think that kind of air of mystery though about the members of the group, say yourself and whatever, in a way kind of enhances the whole Led Zeppelin legend, if you like? Well, it makes people even more perhaps in awe of the group, if you like.
I see what you're getting at, but there's an important part of this. It's not a fabricated sort of aura. No. I think it comes through because, look, first of all, we've stuck to our guns as far as like what we play, and that's we do an LP. Somebody was saying this afternoon to me, you seem to come out with an LP once a year. Well, I suppose it does come to be that. Now, within a year, you go through a lot of changes, and as this sort of music is sort of almost like an extension of a voice or whatever, it is a method of expression, then obviously collectively those sort of changes, because everything is going to come out the end that way, there are going to be changes. Now, if you daren't, or if you're very conscious of your image of your group or whatever, and you know that you've had a successful streak, the obvious thing to do is to keep that streak going. Well, we didn't do that. We just after the second LP recorded on the road, all of that rock and roll, the urgency, rawness, rudeness within the lyrics, coming back to Britain after that, totally exhausted, and we went to Wales, stayed in cottage realm, log fires, playing acoustic guitars. Songs came out of that. The obvious thing to do is to record it. Now the whole atmosphere of the third LP from this is just it's totally different altogether. There's a very mellow side to it. Changes. People just can't relate to that. I remember exactly the sort of attitude to the reviewers at that particular point. 1, 2, weaken. Led Zeppelin 1, 2, and we can all crumble or whatever. They just thought we were finished, that all the urgency, the energy from the band had disappeared. They couldn't understand that within a year one had gone through changes, and consequently, as a group, just and it came out like that, the music, so you just want to put it out. Now, hand in hand with that, if you do, as I say, stick to your guns because you're really as intrigued more than anything else to see what is coming next. There was obviously, prior to a number being written, there was nothing. It's suddenly evolved. If after 6 years of doing this, you can people, the audience, people that with you can relate to those changes themselves and stay with you. Well, I think it's fantastic. I mean, because
that's seeing now though that you are, even though if I can say that, I mean the film isn't particularly illuminating about the background of the group and that sort of thing. I mean, what you're saying now suggests that that you've decided perhaps demystify perhaps some of the kind of stuff around. I mean, in fact, you're doing all these interviews, for instance. I mean, I remember saying 3 years or 4 years ago. You would hardly do.
Well, you see, I got a bit pissed off with the musical papers. It got so bloody trite. And I'm not just saying the attacks upon us, but I just saw a couple of people go down, really carrying the whole weight of criticism on their shoulders, believing it, and it was bloody sad, the thing is, I suppose they've got a bit of a job to do. They're trying to give a précis of what's going on musically and run it on a week-to-week basis. Well, music doesn't run on a week-to-week basis. This whole thing of what's next, what's the new trend, as we all know about that sort of thing.
What do you think about this view that's being expressed occasionally in music papers at the moment of how kids are fed up with enormous rock concerts?
Well, if they're fed up with it, they wouldn't go, would they? They wouldn't attend it. I think that's absurd. I think the mass gathering, regardless of whether it be a rock and roll band or whether it be a classical audience, is just the feeling of everybody coming together and being together and knowing that you can relate to that, whatever it is, the focal point. And
I think that actually for Led Zeppelin, it seems to me that I mean the whole sort of giganticness of a big concert seems to go so well with the group anyway. I mean,
well, you've got to accommodate. This is the awkward. It's a sore point. You've got to accommodate the amount of people that want to see you, obviously. The only time that we sort of felt victim, I should say, really, to the press and criticism and the pundits, so to speak, was after the this is about the third major tour of Britain after we've been doing the Albert Hall, all the big, the larger, as it was, the word was getting about, because sure we did some interviews to begin with, certainly I did anyway. After the first couple of years, it was just like, well, if you can.
You don't think you don't.
Well, I want to get the right phrasing across. You see on this. Sorry, just ask your question again. Ask it again.
Well, I asked originally that what you felt about this view someone's expressed in music papers at the moment, that young people are fed up with big concerts, large scale events.
And I was saying that you have to accommodate. Well, when you know that you're growing in popularity, stature, whatever, you want to keep with the people because you know that is really what the music is all about. It's coming out into the streets. I've always thought, and I still think that it's the contemporary folk music. The instruments are different because that's what.
But does sometimes the legs?
I was just going to say about this thing about the press. You see, we were doing in large places, and it was this is it. They've left the.
James, sorry to interrupt you on the.
Right. It is quite important, this, but we got the sort of slating of they've left everyone behind, and they're finished. They've sold out. Sold out is the real thing. You see, nobody wants to do regardless. So we did a absurd thing. we played all the clubs again that we'd done on possibly our first Nottingham Boathouse, the Marquee, all the sort of 400 or 500 capacity places. It's chaos, absolute chaos, because nobody could. All the people that really wanted to see you couldn't get in.
What I'm really asking is whether you perhaps feel in any way threatened by that view. I mean, obviously there's no reason why you should particularly, but I mean whether the fact that it is being mentioned in the music, which I'm sure you've seen probably.
No, I haven't actually. No.
Oh well, it's just like it's
a dilemma.
Punk rock. You probably know about this punk rock business. Perhaps that's been. This is supposedly the young kids. Doing it themselves now after years and years of watching super.
But that's great. I mean, even though we may not be able to relate to it ourselves, and this is the whole thing, that's okay. That's great. That's how it should be. It should. Well, the only unfortunate thing is that musically, obviously, but what your feeling is that this is a bit banal, and so it is, because I think that by now the way that everything is loosened up as far as the it's certainly broken the chains of tradition anyway, and there has been a sort of merging with all of the popular forms of music. Jazz has taken on the sort of soul rhythm sections, and then you get Billy Cobham, people like that, and you find one at Bernstein, stating quite openly that he's quite happy to work with rock musicians and this, that, and the other. Why haven't we got any good, why aren't the important writers coming through from the next generation, so to speak? That's the only annoying thing, because I think it should come. The sort of Tubular Bells type of thing. You see, the whole thing is it's got to, and it will come anyway, whether it's not that generation or the next one. But with the textbook, which is now there've got to be some important writers coming through. I don't think there are any at this stage.
Yes.
Anyway. But it,
Do you find the strains of, the press is one thing, but all the strains and pressures, so-called, that people talk about of being a rock star, do they get worse as you go on, or do you find you get more used to them? Or,
no,
how does it work?
It's the attitude of the man in the street. Sorry, it's civil servant. I think most people appreciate that it is done on. Well, when okay, there's a concert and there's this really frustrating thing that all they can relate to is I'm sorry, I mean this. But the critics, I'll say, can only relate to the monetary side of it. The whole organisation, the planning, this, that, and the other gets forgotten. They think that it is, pretty easy, and you get, I want to say, like customs. Sure. This is it. This is the sort of thing. When you come through customs, after having done a damn good tour and everyone shook your hands, it smiles everywhere, and you know that it's been a really fantastic experience, and then you get humiliated all the way down the line.
But surely
time and time again, and you realise that you're being treated as some sort of.
But surely, the strains and pressures and things are more sort of subliminal.
That is a strain.
Oh, sure, yeah.
That's the sort of thing. I tell you, flying into London Airport, I'm like this. Because I know I'm going to get a damn bad time. And it's horrible. Why should you?
But are not sort of even worse though, sort of more subliminal things, if you like?
Well, the sort of thing you mean? What one can find themselves living in a bubble?
Mental kind of things, that sort of business.
It depends what side of it you're getting at. I could go on about people's attitudes towards one and suspicions and that sort of thing.
But it must be an awful strain to be sort of a big personality all the time, and I just wonder whether one gets used to it.
Well, it depends.
The sort of tricks that people are trying to lay onto you the whole time, and that kind of thing, perhaps. Whether one gets used to that, or whether you just find it, as it goes on year after year, you find it even more and more difficult to cope with.
It's not difficult so much to cope with. It's overwhelming when, for instance, when you get off a plane, say in the States, after having done a certain amount of routining and organising, say, you know, this, that and the other, lights and everything, synchronising everything. So you've got a show as opposed to just a repertoire. And then you walk into 2 sort of days. Because we only play on our own, because it's a sort of 3.5 hour show. And you walk into like 56,000 people first day, the next one, well, 57,000. And suddenly you realise that over 2 days you've played with that amount of people.
Well, I mean,
think, my God, you know, what's going on? So what I'm saying is that, you know, sort of the growth, the fact that there seem to be more and more people coming to to see us, you know, you wonder when it's going to stop.
Yes, but I mean that's what I'm saying. I mean that must be fairly mind-blowing to allow yourself to think about it, perhaps.
Well, the obvious thing is if you're so wrapped up in that aspect of it, this is where the formula thing. You'd hang on to what you've got. You'd think, you'd analyse what you've got. The essence of the band is that's it. We'll keep that going. Yeah. But as I say, we haven't taken so many chances that have felt right at the time, and more, you know, just convictions really. You know, not putting out an LP for a year, touring for 9 months, and then putting out an LP with no information on it whatsoever, no title, no name of group, just symbols. So, as if, and the whole object of that, and that was at the end of a whole bout of criticism, you know, and it was as if to say, well, here it is. It's just a piece of plastic. If you like it, you can, you know, want to have it, and if not, forget it, you know. I don't, you know, at that point it was considered real, you know, professional suicide. They've learned to be really confident that what we were doing within ourselves was right. You know, I mean, do you find as a musician that you're totally satisfied with what you do in Led Zeppelin? I mean, you had a lot before the group was formed. I mean, you had a lot of experience in all kinds of other things. Yeah,
I mean,
really,
you know, you say your influences are sort of Gans often and things like this. I mean, do you find that you ever want to kind of, well, obviously, what a lot of people have done in the past, make solo albums and all this sort of stuff. I mean, I wasn't really suggesting that. I mean, do you have bits and pieces that you?
Yeah, I know what you're getting at. Well, I've written. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that I've got written at home and orchestrated, which haven't so far been employed with the band. I would say that if a writer in a group, unfortunately, honestly, it doesn't relate to us at all, but this is where it goes wrong. When somebody has got a theme that he wants to get across and it doesn't relate in any way whatsoever, or it couldn't be employed within the band's repertoire. Well, you see, I think we're sort of this way and that, you know, like a pendulum almost within the sort of within our capabilities.
I mean, for instance,
so that anything can be employed.
I mean, for instance, I read that you went to Morocco, I think, about 6 or 9 months ago. I don't know whether you sort of got into Moroccan music or not. I mean, one can never imagine Led Zeppelin playing Moroccan music.
Well, I'm surprised you say that, because I think what we're doing is very akin to that sort of music. Well, if you think of the Jajuka music, the Rites of Pan, trance music, riffs, which is what it is.
Yeah, I suppose.
It's very akin, believe me. But you can't help but be totally overawed and bowled over by all the well, what is it? It's like a 360-degree cycle of music going on, and it's there's so much to be able to sort of to turn you on. You know, it really does. I mean, folk music. I should just say national music with a sort of identity, national identity, like Moroccan music, tribal music, Indian, the classical Indian music, and the more, you know, so like southern Indian, northern Indian, classical music, as we know, Western classical music. There's just so much that I really want to sort of digest, to be able to interpret it, you know.
And you think that can be interpreted into Led Zeppelin?
Well, yeah, right, sure. But you wouldn't necessarily be able to see it. It wouldn't be like you see, George Harrison got involved with Indian music, and it came out with. It sounded. The one was Sergeant Pepper with Indian Bounty, which was absolutely brilliant as a fusion, and it's a shame that more wasn't done. Really. But that was. How should I say? That was George Harrison being involved with it and coming up with something which was very, very akin to their film music, which is their pop music. Pop music or the classical. Now, the way that I realised that I've withdrawing and looking back, the way that it comes out with me is that it goes in, but it doesn't necessarily come out sounding absolutely Arabic or whatever, or Indian. And when this interruption's gone, I'll tell you. You see, on the last studio LP presence, Achilles' Last Stand, for myself, illustrating this is well, that's illustrative of what I've been saying. These, having travelled through Spain, Morocco, I can see where the influences in my own playing are coming out through them, but it wouldn't necessarily be apparent to anybody else. The most important thing is that it is a stimulus, and that it's all there to be drawn from and to work with. That we recorded in Bombay. A great desire of mine to record in Cairo. Because I know you've heard that. It comes out of there.
Radio Cairo.
Fabulous stuff. The best.